All right, so just wrapped up the morning session for today. And so for a little background, my goal for the upcoming sessions is to have a straight arm, a straight arm handstand, aka a pike press up. And you will see an example later on in this video. So I've had previous workout sessions and they've kind of been catered to straight arm strength. And so I needed to change it up because I've been doing that for a while. And so this session was purely, no, well, not purely, but mainly focusing on the bent arm aspect of the move. And so I figured if I were to develop the bent arm strength that I needed, it would carry over to the straight arm strength that is required. So you'll see what I've been doing or what I did today, my kind of thought process while going through it, and all the exercises that I did. So let's get into it. So in the following clips, you will see my 3 attempts at a clean, straight arm handstand press. And right now you can see me just warming up the hamstrings, the wrist a little, and unfortunately these 3 were not clean at all. I was able to lift off the ground, however, I did not get that aesthetically pleasing handstand, the straight arm handstand that I'm looking for. My knees are a little bit bent, and I just overall didn't feel as concrete and stable as I should be. You'll see in my last attempt here that I really try and compress my thighs to my chest just so I can get the hips high and lift off better. However, it still needs some work. My knees are bent, my hips aren't high enough, and I can't complete it to the straight handstand that I'm looking for. So that's what these upcoming weeks will be used for. Here you will see my first couple attempts at a frog stand to handstand. I've never tried this exercise before, so this was a whole new experience for me. And I'm trying my best to keep the hips up high, push as tall as I can, and get into a straight line handstand. I don't think I managed to get into a solid handstand and hold for 2 to 3 seconds as I hoped for. This just shows how weak my bent arm strength is relative to my straight arm strength. So this exercise will definitely help with my bent arm strength. And you'll be able to see that I run out of energy for the last few attempts. So the first clip and second clip are my first and third set. I didn't record the second set. And so with the third set, I had a better understanding of form. I put my knees a little bit higher on the triceps just so I can get my hips higher so it's an easier time getting into a straight line handstand. And I push as tall as I can, try and get the hips straight, try and push the shoulders into its full extension. However, I'm still not able to get it. So hopefully we'll see an improvement in the upcoming weeks. I'm actually kind of satisfied with this only because it's my first couple attempts of doing it and I was able to push up higher than I hoped, so that is a good sign. This next exercise right here is a handstand negative to a bent arm tuck planche, and a handstand negative is just when you go down slowly, as you can see here, and a bent arm tuck planche is when you hold yourself up in a tuck position with your arms kind of bent. And I don't think I successfully did this one either. It took a couple of attempts to balance the handstand, so that's one fundamental I still have to work on as I'm lowering down into a tuck planche, bent arm style. Again, this just illustrates how weak my bent arm strength is compared to my straight arm strength. I think you just saw there that I just attempted to hold a bent arm tuck planche. Didn't go so well, but the form and everything still has to come together. So again, not too bad of a start. Again, it's really my first time trying these exercises, so I think I know where my baseline is and what I still have to work on. And as you can see here, I'm still struggling to get into a handstand. And when I do get into a handstand and kind of balance it, I really think that I am straight from the ground up. But as you can see, my hips were a little bit piked, my shoulders were a little bit over my hands, so that still needs to be worked on. This exercise felt the best to me. This was a tuck headstand push into a straight arm handstand. I was able to get, I think, one really good one in the second clip, but right here I'm just trying to find my balance in the tuck headstand and push up maximally to the handstand. This exercise felt a lot easier than the previous exercises in terms of physical bent arm strength demand. You can see me flailing around trying to get into a handstand. I still have to build up the awareness of where my hips and body is aligned when pushing up into the handstand. That one was really good, actually. So being able to record myself and watch myself again is a very useful tool to help with my form and spatial awareness. So in the second clip, I actually managed to hit a clean headstand to handstand. My shoulders were a little bit bent, so I won't consider that a perfect rep, but I was quite satisfied with that. I think the rest of these I do manage to push up, but I lack the 2-second hold that I'm looking for. And again, it's my first time in this new territory, so I won't beat myself upon it just because this is my baseline, and for the upcoming weeks we'll be able to see how that baseline moves up. So I really want to be able to straighten my shoulders to a 180 as much as possible, just to have the cleanest handstand I can for the calisthenic channel. And this exercise right here, the tuck handstand, is a fantastic way of opening up the shoulders. As you can see here, my shoulders do manage to hit a 180, so I don't lack the range of motion there. However, I do lack the awareness to get in the position, so I use the wall to assist me to help with the clean form. And so why I don't do a straight arm handstand here is just because you can see my hips are going to be a little bit in front of my shoulders, and that forces my shoulders to open up a little bit more. So when I do get into that straight arm handstand, I do have the spatial awareness to open up my shoulders as much as possible. And right here, I'm just trying to go for a long hold without the wall as much as I can, and then I fall back as safely and lightly as I can. Continuing with the theme of bent arm strength, I have 3 sets of pseudo planche push-ups, which just means that my shoulders are going to be a little bit more forward than my wrists, as you'll see here as I lean forward. And this just puts more physical demand on the anterior deltoids, the front of the shoulders, and requires more bent arm strength, which I'm trying to work up on. And this is pretty much the end of my session. I'm glad we established a baseline for this, and I'm excited to see what the next week will entail in terms of how clean my form is, how I progress with these exercises. I won't be changing these for a while, so we'll be able to see either a steady progression or maybe exponential, but we will see. We'll just take it one session at a time and see how things go. So I will see you guys next week on week 2 for cleaning up the straight arm handstand press with bent arm strength exercises. And we'll see if there is some improvement or not.